I'm joined today by George Eustice, Secretary of State at the Department of Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, also before that a Minister, probably the longest serving politician ever in the department, is my guess. I served under 5 Secretaries of State while I was there, and there's a prize to anyone who can name all of them.
Mr. Dimbleby.
Hello.
Could I doorstep you? I
Sure.
interviewed you at Fenland Soils after you did your keynote.
Oh yeah, what are you director of?
I'm a director of meeting people like you.
Redfox Executive Selection.
And Beanstalk.Global, so we do lots of. Come on, walk with you. So the Farmers Weekly have just collared you and done a fantastic podcast with you. You've got 2 great speakers at 2 o'clock. Justin King.
Yes.
Where did you get him out from?
So he was on my advisory panel for the National Food Strategy.
Oh, sorry, I should have known that.
And so I knew that he really cared about it.
Yep.
And I obviously knew that George cared about it. And so the idea was to say, you really cared about it, and yet we're still struggling to get there.
Yep.
Why did you fail? What could you have done differently, and what could they do differently? That's basically the fundamental.
Okay.
That's the idea behind the session.
Okay. And do you think there's going to be any shockers coming through from that?
I don't know. I hope they're going to be really honest.
Yeah.
I imagine they will. They've got nothing to lose.
Exactly, the shackles are free, aren't they?
So I'm hoping we'll get. What I'm hoping is. What I'm hoping is that. I saw inside government how hard that was.
Yep.
And all of the tensions and difficulties, even if you were
are you going to the big tent?
I'm going to the big tent.
You've got to go this way.
Even if you were like, really dedicated to something, it was just very hard to get anything done.
Yeah.
I haven't seen what it's like inside a big supermarket, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And hearing Justin's view on that, on why he couldn't go faster, how much of it was commercial, how much was his board, what were the pressures on him.
Yeah, okay.
So that is, I'm hoping, I did it because I really wanted to learn a bit.
I was going to be fascinating.
Yeah.
But just to throw it back at you, what would you have done differently in the respect of the fantastic work that you've done? what would you have done differently?
There are a few I don't think I did enough on the oceans.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
There's one thing, I didn't do enough on water. The real difficulty for me, and I kind of knew this was going to be hard, but I served at DEFRA for 5 years. This is kind of why it's so difficult politically, under 4 Prime Ministers and 5 Secretaries of State. And so you're trying to...
But isn't that model broken? Did you advocate this once? Sorry if I'm putting words in your mouth. The Singaporean model.
Benign dictatorship.
15 years plan. That's the plan. Stick to it.
Yeah.
Don't deviate.
I think there is a lot to be said for benign dictatorship, but there's also a lot to be said against it.
Yep.
It's very interesting, I think, that you mentioned Singapore. So the countries that have got really interventionist on food tend to be countries that have some kind of existential threat. So they can't afford to fuck about, excuse the expression. Because so if you look at who's really gone to food, Japan, Singapore, South Korea. So they are countries where they are small-ish and under threat, and the health of the population and the ability to feed themselves is not something that you can that you can just play politics with.
No. So you've been on Times Radio a number of times. A couple of weeks ago, they were stating how in Japan there's multiple football teams for those players aged over 100. Because of longevity, and there's no diet industry in Japan because there isn't an issue.
Yeah.
Whilst here it's a gazillion.
But they do have the Metabo law.
Yeah.
So by the Metabo law, they all get weighed by their companies every year, and if they're overweight, they get put on a program to help them remove it. So
there's an idea.
Yeah.
Okay, advocate that.
You should go in and talk to Prince William.
Oh, no, I already have. Can I just say
Didn't get wrestled to the ground.
No, that's why I'm with you. As I said at Venezuela, thank you for everything that you've done. I'm sure you don't get appreciated enough, but you're a fantastic advocate for the sector. Thank you. All the work you've done. Right, go and knock it out
I'm
of the park.
actually going to go get coffee. I will.
Thank you.
Our food system is in a mess, but it is also, as I said in the food strategy, a miracle in some ways. We have an availability and abundance of food that would be unimaginable to our great-grandparents at a cost which means that for many people things that would have been luxuries 50 years ago are now widely available. And if you were to cut off nitrogen fertilizer now, overnight, you would stop feeding probably 40 or 50% of people in the country. So the question, in the world. So the question is, how do we get from this miracle that is also a disaster through to a better system? And why, given that these people here and a lot of people here have tried to do this, have we failed? And that's what I want to try and examine today. So can we examine why it's been so difficult and how we could wish our successors, in your case George and in your case Justin, more success and give them some tips. I'm joined today by George Eustice, Secretary of State at the Department of Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, also before that a minister, probably the longest serving politician ever in the department, is my guess. He was, I served under 5 Secretaries of State while I was there, and there's a prize to anyone who can name all of them. But